You walk into an empty house. No television, no conversation, no hum of traffic outside. Just silence. And within seconds, something in you wants to fill it. You reach for your phone. You turn on music. You start talking to no one in particular. Why does quiet feel like something is wrong? And the real answer is far stranger than simply liking noise. Think about the last time you were truly alone, with nothing to listen to. Not falling asleep, not meditating on purpose, just sitting. Chances are, it didn't last long. Your legs started bouncing, your mind started racing, you picked up a device within minutes, maybe seconds. This isn't weakness. It isn't a modern addiction to screens, even though it looks that way on the surface. Something deeper is happening. Something written into you long before phones existed. In 2014, psychologist Timothy Wilson ran an experiment that became instantly famous for uncomfortable reasons. He and his colleagues at the University of Virginia asked participants to simply sit alone in an empty room for 6 to 15 minutes. No phone, no book, nothing to do except think. Most participants rated the experience as unpleasant. That alone wasn't shocking. What was shocking came next. In a follow-up version of the study, participants were given the option to administer a mild electric shock to themselves if they wanted to, something they had already said minutes earlier that they would pay money to avoid. And yet, given nothing but their own thoughts and an easy way to escape them, a striking number of people chose the shock. Some men shocked themselves dozens of times in a 15-minute span. Rather than sit quietly with their own mind, they opted for pain. That should stop you for a second. Not boredom, not mild discomfort, actual physical pain, chosen freely just to avoid empty, quiet thought. So what is it about silence that feels this unbearable? Part of the answer lives in your nervous system's oldest job description. Long before language, before shelter, before fire, your ancestors survived in environments where silence had a very specific meaning. It meant something had stopped. Birds stop singing when a predator approaches. Insects go quiet. The forest holds its breath right before danger. A sudden absence of sound wasn't peaceful to an early human. It was a warning. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux, who has spent decades studying the brain's threat detection systems, has shown that the amygdala, the almond-shaped structure responsible for triggering fear responses, is wired to react not just to loud, sudden noises, but to unexpected changes in your sensory environment, including the sudden absence of expected sound. Your brain, in other words, doesn't experience silence as nothing. It experiences silence as a break in the pattern, and breaks in the pattern are exactly what a threat detection system was built to notice. You are not imagining the unease. You are running ancient software in a modern house. But there's a second layer to this, and it has nothing to do with predators at all. It has to do with what your brain does the instant external noise disappears. Neuroscientist Marcus Reichel, working at Washington University in St. Louis, helped identify what's now called the default mode network, a set of brain regions that becomes active precisely when you are not focused on an external task, when conversation stops, when the television goes off, when there's nothing left demanding your attention. This network doesn't go quiet along with the room. It switches on. And what it produces is often uncomfortable. Unresolved worries, half-finished arguments you never got to have, regret about something you said or didn't say. Silence doesn't create an empty room in your mind. It reveals one that was already full, and now this is the real trick behind why silence feels loud. External noise had been quietly functioning as a kind of psychological shield, a constant stream of input distracting you from an internal stream you'd rather not sit with. Remove the external noise, and the internal one gets louder by contrast, not because it grew, but because nothing is competing with it anymore. Think about how deliberately modern life has been built to prevent this. Elevators play music so the silence of 6 strangers standing shoulder to shoulder doesn't feel unbearable. Waiting rooms have a television bolted to the ceiling, angled so no one can escape it. Restaurants play background music at a volume too low to consciously notice, but loud enough to prevent true silence from ever settling in. This isn't an accident of design. Silence, left alone, makes people uncomfortable enough that entire industries exist to prevent you from ever fully experiencing it. And yet, here's the twist inside the twist. The very discomfort you feel in silence is also the reason silence works, when you can tolerate it. Therapists have long noticed that when a conversation goes quiet, when there's a pause instead of an immediate refill of words, something shifts. People start saying truer things. The urge to fill the space eventually runs out of small talk to offer, and what's left underneath starts to surface instead. This is why interrogators, therapists, and skilled negotiators all use silence. Deliberately. Not as an absence, but as a kind of pressure. The uncomfortable pull you feel to fill quiet space with words is strong enough that, given enough time, most people will say something real just to relieve it. Silence isn't empty in these moments. It's doing something. It's applying gentle pressure until whatever's underneath the noise finally speaks. So, the unease you feel walking into a quiet house isn't a flaw in you. It's two ancient systems doing exactly what they evolved to do. One system is scanning the silence for danger, a leftover habit from a world where quiet meant something was wrong. The other system is using the sudden lack of external noise to surface everything you've been outrunning all day, every unresolved thought that noise had been helping you avoid. Modern life gave you 1,000 ways to never encounter either system. A phone in every pocket, a speaker in every room, a screen in every waiting area. Silence has become rare enough that most people go years without genuinely experiencing it, which means most people go years without ever hearing what their own mind actually sounds like when nothing else is competing for the microphone. Next time silence catches you, in an elevator, a waiting room, an empty apartment, notice what you reach for first. Notice how fast the reach happens. That speed is not random. It's ancient, and it's honest, and it's telling you something about what you've been quietly running from every single day since the moment sound was invented to interrupt it. You walk into an empty house. No television, no conversation, no hum of traffic outside. Just silence. And for the first time, instead of reaching for your phone, you decide to stay in it a little longer, just to hear what's actually there.